Wow, amazing. The Meat and Potato Show, conservative talk in Ashbrook. Let me adjust the camera here a little bit. Sorry about that. Everything's kind of off the cuff here. We've gathered at a restaurant here in Boston because the event in Berkeley had been shut down. As you can hear by the noise, I'll pan the camera around in a minute. Look at the crowd that's come here. We're going to debate immigration. It turns out that most of the people for illegal immigration have dumped out of the event. We only have one person. But we do have many other college students here who will definitely lend their information to us, their opinions. I look forward to that. I can't wait to film it. I have volunteered my services to go in there and debate as well, because we've covered this so many times on the Meat and Potato Show, and it's going to be nuts. I'm just going to pan the camera around here. It's nuts here. Look at all the people that are there. Look at this. There's Mark Shahady. There's Mark. So we're going to get going in a few minutes here, and we're going to get this going here. It's going to be very interesting. Everything's ad hoc here. We've got one debater here, and so we're looking forward to this.
We're getting ready right now.
There you go, Sam.
We're gonna let the wait staff get out of our way before I start reading the rules, because they may seem a little weird to hear if you're just in passing, you know.
There we go. We want to keep everything clear.
My name is Samson Richapi. I was asked to moderate this thing. I'm a student at Suffolk University. I'm active on the Libertarian Party Committee. I'm part of that big Freedom Rally pot fest that's on the Boston Common every year. All right, I participate with Mascan, the nonprofit that does that. And I kind of knew people on both sides of this border debate. I know the Resist Marxism group. I'm friends with them. I stand with them at events, and I know the people who were supposed to be on the open border side, but unfortunately, as you all know from your public safety announcements that I guess happened, there's a lot of controversy about this, and unfortunately a lot of the people on the open border side got targeted, they got harassed, and they got intimidated into dropping out. I don't fault them for doing it. They have a professional career, they have like personal lives they have to deal with, but it's unfortunate that that's where we're at. I'd like to thank you all once again for coming out, because the fact that you're here, no matter what side you're on, you still show that you're willing to engage in rigorous academic debate. And that's what we wanted to have happen here, and that's what we're still shooting for tonight. So without further ado, I want to introduce Justin. Is it Justin Kumar Ashbrook? Am I saying that correct? He's the president of the Young Americans for Liberty at Berkeley. He's the main organizer. I'd like to welcome him and ask him to say a few words.
Yeah. So I'm really glad this debate happened. At times I didn't think it would happen. I sat through many meetings with the administrators, with the dean of student affairs, the club's director. And a lot of people were trying to make me.
Can you all hear him? Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure.
And a lot of people, went through a lot of lengths to try to make this not happen. But I'm very glad it did happen. And it's a great day for free speech and diversity of thought. And I really just want everyone to hear opinions that they might not agree with and just learn something from it. Thanks.
What I'd like to do next is just pass this around and ask each participant to introduce themselves. Just very quickly, give like 30 seconds, who you are, what you're all about, what brought you here, and whatever else you want people to know about. I'll start with Mark here.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark. I am one of the original organizers in Resist Marxism. If you all remember the Rally for the Republic last year, that was us. I want to thank Gil for inviting us to debate. I think debates are excellent ways to exchange ideas. I hope we can all believe that free speech is important, and no matter what side of the debate you're on, we're here supporting free speech. I'd also like to say to the Democratic Socialists of America, you were invited to debate and you cowardly backed out or cowardly didn't accept. We're here if you want to come debate us. You know, you've been calling us Nazis for a year. Where are you? This was your chance. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Woo, woo. All right, my name is Brandon Navon. I have been involved in just about every organization you can possibly imagine. I'm the state chairman of the Republican Liberty Caucus. I started Freedom Coders, freedomcoders.org, and yeah, I can talk louder. Thank you. All right.
Everyone, yell it out.
Fightforthefirst.org. Yeah. I'm here. I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad we didn't let people silence us. And thank you guys so much on this side for jumping in. You guys really are amazing. I appreciate you so much. I want to hear a broad and diverse range of opinions. So thank you guys so much. And visit us at fightforthefirst.org. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Lukasz Leon Pawlikowski. Everybody can hear me? Okay, my name is Lukasz Leon Pawlikowski. I'm a Berkeley student. I'm the Vice President for Young Americans for Liberty at Berkeley chapter. And I'm originally supposed to be the co-moderator of the whole debate, but unfortunately we don't have enough people for the open borders side, so I'm going to join Justin for this side of the debate for tonight. Thanks everybody for coming, you're great.
Do you want me to pass it too?
Yeah.
Do you want to pass it along?
Who's going to come right on?
Yeah, so you just heard from me, but my name is Justin again. I'm the president and founder of the Young Americans for Liberty chapter at Berkeley, and I want to thank everyone for coming tonight again.
Hey everyone, I'm Coombs. I'm the second craziest political guy you'll ever meet in Boston. I'm glad you're even here. I'm the chair of the Mises Caucus of the LP in Massachusetts. And thanks everyone for coming. I did show up.
Hi, my name is Patrick Suter. I'm really good friends with Justin, and that's how this debate was just a small idea we had one night. Actually, that night it was snowing back in November. We were just hanging out. We said, let's have a debate. And little did I know that we would set the Berkeley campus on fire just by wanting to get together like this. I apologize if any of those posters on Mass Ave offended anybody, but they're not true. That's why that's the left's tactic. They don't want us to have any kind of rational exchange of ideas. They want to control the street game, and Resist Marxism's taking it away from them, and they're angry.
Yeah!
All right, thank you all for the introduction. I just want to go over the rules real quick. We're going to have it's going to be a handful of questions. We originally planned on 2 questions. The first one was going to be for the open borders side. They were going to argue in favor of open borders. They were going to define what that is. They're going to argue in favor of it for a few minutes, and then we're going to pass it over to the opposing side, who will argue why they were wrong. And this will go back and forth a handful of times until we feel like there's no more points being made. We're just repeating the same things, and we'll move on to the next question. And that's the United States federal government has the legal authority to regulate immigration and vet immigrants prior to entry into the United States. So then the team that is in favor of that, they'll give their intro, they'll try to sell you their side of the story, and they'll go over to the opposing side. In the process of doing this, we are not going to call anybody derogatory names. It's pretty ridiculous that I have to, this is actually in the rules. This is rule number 1. No calling anyone a Nazi, commie, fascist, racist, bigot, homophobe, pinko, or any other slanderous remarks aimed at rendering debate incapacitated. Usage will result in us politely asking you to leave with a smile on our faces. and then it'll just get worse from there. After we are done with the formal portion of the debate, any questions that you all have, I encourage you to ask them. So one at a time, we will use this microphone. I, as the moderator, will acknowledge you. We'll let you say your piece, and whoever it is that you're addressing can address whatever it is you have to say. So without further ado, I would like to ask the open borders side, right? You are affirming the fact the United States should adopt an open borders policy. What I would like you to do is define what you mean by open borders, and then go ahead and sell us on your case. I'm going to pass this microphone on over, figure out who wants to speak first. Thank you.
Okay.
Go for it, Justin.
Hey guys, so open borders. So as question 2 states, as opposing question 2, open borders is when the federal government or state government does not have the authority under the Constitution to pass laws restricting the freedom of movement. So why? So when we talk about keeping people safe from things like terrorism or anything else, I think it's important to recognize that the private sector does a much better job at keeping people safe and vetting immigrants coming into the country. For example, people take a plane here, United Airlines or whatever. They have a strong incentive to not to make sure that people do not come in who are sick or who are terrorists on the planes. If that happens, United stock will come down or plunder. Another example is, well, you could just say, well, people will swim across the border. If people swim across the border, whoever owns land on the border will also have a strong incentive to vet them and make sure they're not terrorists, make sure they're not really sick, because people do not want to be that person who lets someone in like that. They don't want to be the person who causes harm to society. People are good. I have faith in people. I have faith in the free market, and I think it's important to recognize that people have better solutions than government.
Let me just add on it. I believe that United States should be open to everybody who is willing to contribute the best they can to improve the whole country. This country is really important for the whole history of mankind. It's the country of liberty, the country of constitution, the country of new earth, new change. Everybody from around the world created this country almost 300 years ago, and now, in these times, when it's so important to focus and review the policies of the changing world, we need to go to the roots. We need to find out how the best things could happen to this land, which we call right now the United States of America. And in this spirit, we should be open to every new idea to be updated with the changing world. Thank you.
Yeah, real quick.
So at the end of the day, so right now what we're looking at is that over 90 to 95% of the immigrants coming into this country right now.
Lower, higher.
Loud. You don't need to forget about the mic. That's just for him.
Okay, so over 90% of the immigrants that we're seeing right now are coming to this country legally right now. When you put it all into proper perspective, right now, the immigrants that are coming to this country, right now, once you put it in proper perspective, it's not Canada, it's not from overseas for the most part, it's mostly coming from our southern border. Once it goes into proper perspective, we're only looking at a small amount of immigrants that are coming into this country illegally. And when we look at the huge gangs and all the crazy gangbangers that are coming up here from Central America, the solution there isn't so much migration restrictions as it is simply locking them up and not getting them out of jail with our corrupt parole and criminal system. Now, as far as migration itself is concerned, that deals with the issue of property. Right now, the border itself is state and federally owned. I don't think anything should be state, let alone federally owned. I think that can just be sold out to the highest bidders and that all property was privately owned then you would have to get consent from the landowners, including road and highway owners, and that way everything would need consent and everything would work itself out. That said, I do think that the biggest way we can reform our immigration system right now, for better or worse, hopefully for better, is to take out the middle independent moderates and get the two extremes, the far right and the far left, together. This is Ron Unz's point. I would suggest all of you go home either today, tomorrow, and go to unz.com and read what he has. But I would suggest that essentially immigration can be done by consent rather than federal borders. According to our Constitution, the feds are supposed to only have jurisdiction over naturalization. That's over becoming a citizen. Migration restrictions traditionally were done at the state level. So I do believe that the border states, California, Texas, Arizona, can each have their own experimental policies rather than have a one-size-fits-all.
Before you all start, I just want to ask one question for you all to elaborate. Your definition of open borders is no restrictions at all, whether it's country of origin or no restrictions on numbers, is that correct?
Well, the numbers is arbitrary. Right now, the H-1B visa is currently capped. I believe it's 85,000. So it's going to be arbitrary no matter what happens. Ideally, our visa system, it would not be done directly with immigrants. Companies and corporations should be able to buy visas directly and auction off, whether ideally by the states, but the feds in the time being, and they'd be able to do it rather than have an arbitrary number. The O visa, for example, and you Berkeley kids are going to love this, the O visa is for music and artists and people like that. It's not capped. Theoretically, millions of immigrants could come here legally tomorrow on the O visa, but they don't because that's mainly for musicians, artists. Whereas right now the H-1B visa is capped.
I don't want to take away from the other team's thunder because I know that they're going to hammer on this too. But so right now your position is no restriction on numbers. Is there going to be any checks whatsoever before a person is allowed into the country?
I think that we'll have to make a case for numbers at some point, but the whole thing is not about the numbers, it's about the merit.
Yeah, so private companies can set those things that they want, but not through a law, not through a federal government.
Okay. So I thank you for your introduction. I'd like to introduce Mark Sahady to continue with his side.
So we're resist Marxism, or at least I am, and Brandon is associated with it. So if you know anything about us, we are American nationalists. So we are going to argue from the position of America first. Open borders would mean that anyone, anywhere in the world that has the means or the ability to get here could come. If you know anything about the world's population right now, there are over 8 billion people in the world. According to statistics we've looked at, going at the poverty rate, meaning they make $5.50 or less. Almost half the world's population is poor. Do you really think it's going to be in the interest of American citizens to have everyone that can get here migrate here? Also, look at the news recently. We had the caravans in the news. The caravans, we had NGOs, the non-government organizations helping them get here. If you look at our southern neighbors, they are extremely poor. Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, they also have extremely high crime rates. That would not be in our interests to have them come here. What we've seen too, if you look at statistics regarding welfare, right now immigrants, it just came out this week, 63% of immigrant-headed household families are collecting welfare services. As American nationalists, we're not against immigration, we're just saying it's the right kind of immigration. It does not serve the interests of the American people to have someone come here and go on welfare. Their rates are much higher than the native-born population. It doesn't mean that those are bad people, it just makes sense. If you're poor, you're going to be qualified for welfare. That would not be within our interests. Also, it's our country. The country is there to serve American citizens. There has been many, many instances of crimes committed by immigrants against America. Again, we're not against all immigrants, but we should be able to vet those immigrants. We should be able to look at their backgrounds and say, do you have a criminal record, or are you not, we cannot verify your criminal record. We do not want criminals here. Take a look at terrorism. Foreign-born in the people who have committed terrorist acts in the last 20 years are highly overrepresented. Look at the Boston Marathon bombings. Look at 9/11. Look at the Pulse nightclub in Florida. Those are not people we want in this country. Take a look at your wages. If mass immigration is so great for Americans, remember the 1965 Immigration Act is what opened this country to mass immigration. Look at real wages before 1975. They were coming up. Americans have not had a raise essentially since 1975. If immigration was such a boon to the American citizen, then where is our medium rise in incomes? It's not there. Immigration also, low-skilled immigrants, it's a threat to the standard of living of our own poor. For one, they're competing with entitlements against our poor, and also they're competing for jobs. Everyone here, some libertarians, they'll tell us they believe in free markets. If there's an increase in the amount of oil, they'll say gas prices will go down, right? Why doesn't the free market apply to labor to them? If there's an increase in the number of people that are doing your job, your wages will go down. I'm a software engineer. I've seen that. I'm not against the H-1Bs. We need them right now. We need a lot of them. But companies will abuse the system, and that is a threat to my standard of living. So we are resist Marxism, and we are arguing for an America First position. So if someone has a different ideology, a different philosophy, or different values, we're probably not going to agree. Our values put American citizens first. Thank you very much.
No, well, I mean, do you want to?
No, go ahead.
All right, so you mentioned the countries of El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. In violence, was it?
Yes.
What is fueling the violence in those countries?
Okay, so for one thing, those on the left continue like to tell us that poverty leads to violence, and that's why there's high crime rates around populations in the U.S. that are poor. So one would be poverty. I suppose it would also be lack of resources. I've actually been to Honduras. I was in the Army, and I was in Honduras. If you're in Honduras, you'll realize that they have a lack of water, they have a lack of access to dental hygiene or any hygiene, they have zero lack of resources. That's one thing. Also, the government in Honduras is extremely corrupt. It's extremely corrupt. Now, that's up to the Honduran people to fix their own government. In the United States, we had a revolution when we didn't like our rulers. They need to have a revolution if that's the case and overthrow their rulers.
Aren't you setting up an argument that says that these are legitimate political refugees and they should be allowed into our country?
So the UN Commission of Human Rights, when they set the refugee program, people are abusing it now. No, having poverty in your country does not make you eligible to be a refugee. Having crime in your country does not make you eligible to be a refugee. What makes you eligible to be a refugee is if you are a member of a targeted population. Most of these people it does not apply to.
All right, one more question before we turn it back over to the other team. You mentioned American nationalism or nationalism. That's become quite a controversial term in our country today. Can you define what you mean by that?
I said at the beginning, American nationalism. It means America first, American citizens first. When it comes to our laws, all of our laws in this country should be based off of what is in the best interest of the American citizen and what are our preferences. If this is our country, we own it. Any laws need to serve us.
And let me say, there is a big difference between American nationalism or civic nationalism and white nationalism, right? American nationalism, civic nationalism says that the ideas of America are what make us great, right? I do not believe in manifest destiny. I do not believe that anyone that because of the color of my skin that I'm better than anyone else. I believe that we are successful as Americans because of our ideals, because of our enlightenment principles, because of our egalitarian principles. And it's those ideas that make us successful. That civic nationalism that says that we are the best, we have the best ideas. Because Western democracy, Western civilization has produced the best results. And that is what we believe in.
So I just got word that we have been kicked out of this venue and we have to leave. So we have 5 minutes to go.
So we'll take the debate to Boyle Street or something? I don't know.
Well,
we get a rebuttal or?
we got 5 minutes. Let's go. Let's go.
Alright, so quick rebuttal. On the crime stuff, couldn't agree more, lock them up. But here's the thing, go on Unstop.com right now, myth of Hispanic crime. Hispanic crime rates are literally the same as white native crime rates. It's the same deal. When it comes to lower wages, 1800s, we had relatively open borders, lots of immigrants. Wages were going up. The reason wages are going down right now is because of immigrants, which are relatively small in the overall working population. The reason wages are going down relatively is because of the Federal Reserve. deserve, which is an entirely different debate for another day. Thirdly, with respect to the nationalism bit, couldn't agree more. I'm a nationalist too in its own way. But America isn't a nation. We're like a bastard nation of 20 different types of people. People from Texas, different people from Massachusetts. We should have an assimilationist policy when it comes to immigrants. Massachusetts voters in 2002 agreed with this. English first in the public school, rather than the bilingual approach. What we need to do with immigrants is try to make at least their children, the second generation immigrants, more American, so to speak. So that's how I see it.
Okay, let me. Can I just rebut the immigration? You will hear that immigrants have less crime than American citizens.
Per capita.
So 5 minutes, lads. 5 minutes. You have to go.
Yep.
Yeah. I have your tab in my hand. Close up all the tabs and finish up the live stream.
All right.
Finish up the live stream now.
This is a mischaracterization of the numbers. Legal immigrants commit less crime than American citizens because they know they will be held accountable and they will be removed under our system.
And they're vetted. And they're vetted.
Guys,
Illegal
we
immigrants
believe in
are worse.
private property rights and they don't want us here, so we go.
So this is why we need more legal immigration and less illegal immigration. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thanks for tuning in. I'd like to ask if anybody would like to give a reaction outside. Please stick around. We'll go live
Also, I
again.
have to say, with the wages thing, that's actually incorrect. We had very restrictive immigration laws in the 1880s through 1965. American wages went, that's when the biggest increase in American wages.
We went up the gold standard in 1970.
Turn this off. We gotta go.
All right, so inflation's off the roof. I'll give you that. All right, well, thanks everyone. We had fun. Yeah.
Format where you can maybe help the person and maybe
Well, we're all getting thrown out of here. It's amazing. I guess buying drinks and paying your way and free speech is dead in this country. Gotta get the hell out of here. Meat and Potato Show, conservative talk and awesome rock. And I'm gonna pack up my gear. It's too bad all these people showed up at this event tonight.